And we're back. I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from the office, North Georgia's only live online morning show. And we continue what we call our local candidate interviews. And this morning we're focusing on Fannin County Post 2 Commissioner. And our first guest is Tripp Ritchie. Mr. Ritchie, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me down here. I appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, I've listened to you speak at a couple events that you've talked about your family history, but give us just a couple minutes of why you're running. Why are you seeking this office, Post 2, for Fannin County?
Well, based on my experience, I feel like we're not managing change very well. And one thing is constant, and that is change in our life. And one of the variables that we always see is the velocity of change, how fast things are changing. And it's my observation that we really don't have a goal or a vision for Fannin County at this point. So change is occurring around us without the local government really setting forth what their vision is.
Well, some would argue, let's say this, doubling off what you said there, some would argue that Fannin County is one of the fastest one of the fastest growing counties in the state. Lowest taxes. This may be some of the arguments you may hear, and to your comment. And also, Fannin County was the first county to actually economically recover from the 2009-10 recession faster than any other county in the state. So when you say you don't see a focus on the future in my words, right, are you saying the things that have taken place in Fannin County are in spite of, or in a way? Those are my words, I understand. No, so explain a little more of what you think they don't have a future focus on.
Well, what I've been told, and it's my understanding that Fannin County, based on the current rate of building permits, is going to go from 26,000 to 40,000 in the next 5 years. And I believe that using a metric of comparing our budgets to the other counties around us really is not looking towards establishing a comprehensive master plan for the county. You're either proactive and you're planning, or you're reactive. And what I mean by reactive is you tend to show up and do what you did yesterday, today, and make the best of what you have, but you aren't tying that budget to a goal or a vision on where you want the county to be 5 years, 6 years down the road. It seems to me that we need a master plan, a comprehensive master plan that creates a 5-year rolling budget that you can evaluate your current daily, monthly, quarterly progress towards that goal, and validate your plan as you go along, and then rotate off what you don't accomplish into the next budget year. And that way you have the opportunity for the community to have more input in the direction that the county is going. You know, it's really interesting. I think the tourist interest is going to stay on the same trajectory. So we should maintain our level of wealth in this county. We're in the top 10 in the state of Georgia. But we also have 61% of our children that qualify for free or subsidized lunches, which tells you that growth wasn't organic. And I think we need to balance through a master plan the organic growth, which is industry, which creates jobs for individuals not associated with the tourists. I think we can have a nice balance if we manage the growth. If we don't manage the growth and change will manage us.
Have you looked through the budget? Have you looked at the budget and looked at what the trend lines and some things going on in the budget?
Yes. If you've attended the commissioners' meetings, it's brought up quite a bit, and the focus was on saving money. And there was a trend in management in corporate life about 10 years ago where you look at the highest cost you have in a company or organization, and that's usually personnel cost. And I think we went in and we made some significant cuts in personnel, and that accounts for a slower growth in the increase of the budget. It's increasing slower because of that. But the evidence and the reason that corporations have gone away from that is that it's not based on a goal or a vision to make those cuts. And over time, it really affects morale. It reduces morale, and you end up being able to do reactive management, which again is you show up and see what's broken and then you try to fix it. It's not working a plan. It's not working towards a goal, which is proactive management. And I would like to see our county government migrate to proactive management.
All right. Well, let me ask you this then. You know, one of the factors, and it may be a large one, for some of the growth in Fannin County is the tax rate, the low tax rate that Fannin County provides people that maybe want to retire, and even a good business climate. There's a good business climate in Fannin County at this time that I feel, a low tax rate. So we're looking at, I think it's been about 10 years since the millage rate has been raised on property tax in Fannin County, but increased, the budget has increased over that 10 years to where this year it's an estimated that they're going to spend about $800,000 out of the fund balance. And most counties like to have 6 to 8 months of operating capital. I mean, anywhere to $3 to $5 million in operating, you should be able to operate the county for 6 to 8 months.
Right.
And the fund balance is going down. So right now, the next budgets that are coming up is very crucial to maybe cut, the ugly word, cut the budget, or stay within the spending means, or possibility raising the millage rate. I mean, those are some of the challenges with the rate of growth that the county is facing. What say you?
Well, I think that's a symptom of the lack of a comprehensive master plan. And the budget should consider all the growth, not just the current tourist trend, which is very positive for the county, but also the public safety issues. I mean, if you consider that our fire department is, the majority are volunteers. We've leveraged the goodwill of these volunteers to provide a critical and core competency of our government. And I'm not sure that without a fire protection master plan, we can actually determine what the true cost of this growth will be in regards to providing adequate fire protection. I can tell you right now that it doesn't look to me like we're meeting state and federal standards. But only an assessment, which is the beginning point of a comprehensive master plan, would identify any of our deficiencies. I think morale is challenged. I'm not sure how often we have zero coverage. Most people, most residents in our community appreciate our firefighters. They're very brave people, but they're volunteers. And we need to look at when is that threshold based on our growth that we're going to need to have a paid fire force. And I think that goes back into comprehensive planning. If you don't have a public safety comprehensive plan, you're budgeting to where you are today. And to me, without an assessment, you can't even determine where you are today. But I guarantee you that when you have a widely distributed, higher density residential community and a higher density commercial and industrial community, a volunteer force will not be sufficient to provide adequate fire services. And I think that needs to be addressed. And the way you do that is through comprehensive planning.
Okay, you continue to talk about a comprehensive plan, and I would agree that there needs to be, you should always be looking at a 5-year comprehensive plan of where your county would be and what you will need as far as services for the citizens that live there. But what I say all the time is, if elected, here at FYN TV, Fetch Your News, we're always looking at how you, as the commissioner, how you are as a good steward of the taxpayers' money. And so what you're talking about, if you implemented a plan where you started paying, had a fire department that was now have a paid force that may be needed, but that is spending, okay? And Fannin County is creeping up on a crossroad of fund balance dwindling because of their low tax rate, not just their low tax rate, but a low tax rate matched with increased budgets across the board, from either animal control and everything. It's every year it creeps up to where they're at a crossroads of you either raise the millage rate or hold the line right where it's at and try to make cuts. So, what say you? Do you hold that line? Do you?
Well, I think you always want the lowest possible tax that you can have. And the issue with not having a master plan and addressing the budget that you're talking about is you're deferring these costs to the future. So eventually you're going to have to pay them when they're more expensive. And it's much more expensive to retrofit any of these services. One of the benefits of a master plan is that you can apply for grants. As the city of Blue Ridge is finding out, they didn't have a water distribution master plan, and they went to look for grants, and they weren't even allowed in the door. So there are other funding mechanisms. We pay sales tax to the state, we pay income tax to the state, but we don't have access to those grants and those other funding opportunities because we don't have a master plan. There's FEMA that we could use for stormwater. We could create a stormwater utility. FEMA dollars could come in. When you're just using reactive management, you don't have access and you don't develop the mechanisms to receive that type of funding that can benefit everybody in the community. And oh, by the way, you're already paying those taxes.
Okay, if elected, you would be serving 2 years with both Chairman Stan Helton and Post 1 Commissioner Commissioner Earl Johnson. Have you gone to them and as a candidate and discussed how you would like to fit into the commission and how you guys could work together, and how would you feel fitting into that commission and getting through some of the policies or plans you have?
I have had long conversations with Stan. I think his physical courage is amazing to go through the things that he's gone through and to be doing the job that he's doing. I have utmost respect for him. I think that it's basically disruptive to transition from a reactive management style to a proactive management style. But I think we need more public input than we're receiving now. I think Stan has two hats, really. He has if you look at it, he's virtually a county manager, and that's a full-time job. And there's friction between that hat and his representative hat, where he's representing all the voters. And so I think his first year he did great. I'm hoping he finds a better balance with that. I think we need more public input. This is just me speaking. I think I would move the public comments to the end of the meeting so that you could address some of the topics that came up. Additionally, I would ask for a town hall meeting at least once a quarter where you could get the entire community together, especially if you're beginning a planning process. I think we're really behind as far as what our actual costs are. And the unfortunate aspect about that is it's going to take 3 years. If you decided today to implement a comprehensive planning process, it would be 3 years due to the budget process in the county government before you could implement that. So if we're deficient, I'm just using this as an example, in our fire services, then we're putting our people at risk for 3 years before we can get to that point where we can implement a change to have a comprehensive fire service plan. which I think we need because that change is coming. More residents are coming. If we're at 40,000, that's different than 26. You passed the threshold, but it's like turning a big battleship. You need to start now. And if we don't start now with just new ideas and public input, we won't get there.
All right, I've got to move along, but you've not spoke with Earl Johnson?
No, I have not. No.
Okay, just I ask everybody the same thing because if you're going to be a part of a commission, whatever your plan is running for office, I just asked if you spoke to the commissioners to talk to, hey, I'm running for office, this is my plan. So let me move on because we got a short period of time.
All right.
We have three things, and I don't want to force you to answer too quickly, but one, why do you feel, and I say this, I always ask this question where there's an incumbent, why do you feel the current post 2 commissioner shouldn't have the job any longer? Now obviously, hey, fine, anybody can sign up and run if you meet the qualifications, but why do you particularly feel that you wanted to oppose him at this time?
Well, basically because I think we need a change. Larry Joe's a good fella. He's a relative of mine, although he'll deny it. Glenn's a cousin of mine. This is a small community.
We are in Fannin County. For you folks out there, trust me, that's not unusual.
So we need change. We need to transition from a reactive government to a proactive government that includes more public comment, more sunshine, more information, so that we can address the plan, so that everybody has input to where Fannin County ends up. What is our vision? What is our goal? How do we want to address this change? If we don't do it now, it's going to cost us a lot more. And somebody in the future, our children, our grandchildren, are going to be left holding the bag because we failed to plan our future.
One more question before we close, and again, I ask everyone this because Fannin County is a 70+%, high 70s voter turnout for Republican candidates. We have seen in the past some candidates that know that's the vehicle of getting elected. So we ask every candidate, are you a Republican? How long have you been a Republican? And what's Republican to you?
I've been a Republican my whole life. To me, Republican is low taxes and smallest possible government and freedom. To me, the key to happiness is freedom. The key to freedom is courage. And I admire everybody that has the courage to run for public office. I'm going to donate my entire salary. I didn't even know there was a salary until I went to pay my fee to register. And so I was a little bit surprised, but it's all going to children's charities and the American Cancer Society. I'm not accepting any campaign contributions. I'm totally funding it myself. I totally want to avoid any of our traditional good old boy mischief. And so basically I think public service is important. It's important to the Republicans. And as a Marine Lieutenant Colonel, retired, I have just so enjoyed the opportunity to run for office, defending this country and the democratic process. It's just amazing to be able to finally come home and get involved.
We're closing out of time, but I tell every candidate if there's a final thought or a final comment you'd like to make to the voters, you're more than welcome to do that now.
Well, I just want everybody to know that being a sixth generation resident of Fannin County means a lot because it's been my home. When you're on a battlefield and you're in combat, you think about little things to try to gain just a little bit of perspective. And for me, it was fly fishing on Jack's River. And I think that if we don't plan ahead, we're going to end up in a place that we don't want to be.
Mr. Ritchie, we thank you very much for coming in. Like we tell all the candidates, we wish you well in your campaign, and we thank you for your willingness to want to serve the citizens of Fannin County. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Folks, we're going to take a brief break, and on the other side of this break, we're going to have our second candidate for Fannin County Post 2 Commissioner. And again, this is Tripp Ritchie, candidate here that'll be on the ballot for May 22nd. Early voting starts, I think, April 30th. We'll get those details to you. We'll be back on the other side of this break.